So, good afternoon, students. We are live for the first session of this course on Introduction to Cognitive Psychology. What we'll be doing in this session is I'll be taking questions from you and we'll try to solve those questions or provide answer to your queries with the knowledge that I have about the area of cognitive psychology. I presume that by now you would be in your third section, which is attention, and you would have seen videos and started learning about cognitive psychology. So primarily this session and two more to follow. What I'll try to do is talk to you one-on-one through a live session and address your questions. Now for listeners who are joined with me, I'll ask them to on their camera so that we can have face one-to-one face interactions. Or they could put in a question on the chat box, or without the camera, they can ask a question. Simultaneously, what I'll do is I'll also take questions which are on the sheet that has been floated for you to ask questions. So let's start this session, and I hope we'll have a full session where I'll be able to solve some of your doubts and queries that you have regarding this course. The other thing that I wanted to highlight is I'm proficient in two language, so I can talk to you or answer your questions both in English and Hindi. So this gives me an opportunity, or this gives you an opportunity rather, to ask questions in two languages, and probably I'll try to answer in both the languages, or switch between the language if you have a question, if you have a query in the other language, right? So I'm proficient with two languages, and I'm happy to answer your questions in both English and Hindi. So let's then get on with it, and I'll request you all, people who have joined with me on this first meeting, to start asking your questions. Also, this is not the only meeting that we'll have, the live session. We'll have two more live sessions as the course progresses within the month. So next month and then next to next month. And there is also something called the forum, which you are probably familiar by now, where you can ask your questions and specific doubts regarding this course in cognitive psychology. So now I hand over you the forum for you to ask your questions. So people who are listening to me or who have specific questions can now come in and put up your questions, and I'll try to address them for you.
Hello.
Yes.
Good evening, sir. I'm
Good evening.
speaking from Rajasthan.
Yes, Prakhar. Go on.
Yes, sir. Sir, what is the best book for the beginners in cognitive psychology?
Okay. So what I would suggest is there is a book by called Cognitive Psychology in and Out of the Laboratory. I forget right now the author's name, but it's a very popular book, and it's also on the course website. You can follow that. Other than that, you can follow any book which is available on cognitive psychology, and you can start reading by that book. So the constraints are not there, as in there is no, I would say, the best book. There are a number of books which are there. You have a book by Robert Stenberg. You have a book by uh, uh, Catherine McDonald or Catherine something. I don't know the name. What I'll do is I'll look at the name and I'll type it for you. I'll send it to you in the forum, or any book that you can lay your hand on. That is suffice. All you need to do is to understand that there is a number of sections that are included in cognitive psychology, and any book which covers these sections should be more than sufficient. So all in all,
Okay.
that is what I think.
Okay, sir.
Right. So any other questions if you have, or other people who are here, any specific questions related to the course, related to something within the course, some questions, queries? So I have some questions also on the YouTube feed that I have running, and one of the questions asked me about users' comments. So are the users' comments visible? I think yes, the users' comments are visible, and once in a while I look at them. Generally, I don't go to YouTube and look at users' comments, but if it's needed, then I'll go to those comments, or someone from the group will address those comments for you. There's another question by Prajwal Jairaj, but he answers the question given by Read Writes. Shrishti Adikwe says, is attendance mandatory? Mm, as in the course or this live session? So it depends upon you. If you have a question, you can ask this question here about the status of it being mandatory or not. I'm not sure. But these live sessions are meant for discussions or questions and queries that you think you need to for me to address. So I don't know what the answer is, but yes, if you are here, I'll be happy. Then yes, Chita Mehta says, will the examination be a multiple choice or a subjective paper? So yes, it will be a multiple choice question. Yes, Chita. And then I have inverse. Which is some multiverse, I don't know. So books names are mentioned in slides. Okay, so this is an answer to somebody else. So people are answering among themselves. That's a good thing. And then we have Swati, which says, is this session still on? I cannot hear anything. I think other people are able to hear. So Swati, please check your sound input or your speaker input. Maybe that is mute. That may be the reason you're not able to hear things. Prajwal says, try increasing your volume or checking your audio device. So it's again an answer to Swati. So people who are here with me and people who are on this live forum on this Google, YouTube feed, both the places you can ask questions, right? So I have to switch between them, and there's some delay in me answering the questions because I have to switch from one screen to the other screen. So please bear with me. I'll be switching between these and reading your questions. Will the course be live sessions? Course be live sessions. Which courses are you talking about, Prajwal? Because if you're looking at this course, there will be 3 live sessions. This is the first one, then we'll have 2 more sessions where I'll be asking you to put in your queries, and I'll be trying to answer those queries for you. There is another question by Ardarsh Kumar. Uh, what is the pattern we have in the final exam, and can the question be same as assignment? No, the question is not the same as assignments. So they are based on assignments. Some of them are derived from the assignment, some of them are different, but assignments, reading the assignments would be a great help. You may have similar questions to the assignment. So doing the assignment is mandatory because it helps you in building up on what the final exams would be. And another thing is that the final exam is multiple choice questions. So you have 50 questions that you need to answer in 3 hours time. Each question carries 2 marks. There is no negative marking. So that's how the pattern runs. So that is about the exam. Then if there's any other question, is I see a number of people who have joined me. So whatever your queries are, please go ahead. And as I said, for newcomers, I am proficient in both the languages, English and Hindi. If you prefer to ask a question in Hindi, I'll be able to answer those questions for you in Hindi as well. These are the 2 languages I can switch between. So that's one thing. And what I'll then ask you is to put up your questions. So Yachita has a question. I have another question. When will we get to check our answers in our assignments? As soon as you submit the assignment, the answers will be visible. So that's how the assignments work. So submit your answers and you'll see your correct answers or how many you have scored. For the assignments, I think we have 8 assignments out of the 12 that we'll consider. This is a 12-week course, so 8 best assignments that you do, we'll consider those. And I will insist on going through the assignments or doing the assignments, because assignments is a good way to learn, and they build you towards the final exam. So that's one thing. Then we have a question on this response sheet, and this is a question by Arup Das, I guess. So the question asks, does our personality affect our cognitive process, or is it the cognitive process that develop our personality? So yes, there is a relation between this cognitive process and personality. And personality, since it's a part of your behavior. So cognitive process do in fact affect your personality. One easy way to understand is that how you behave or how you develop as a person depends a lot about how you think, and your thinking depends upon how much information do you have. In fact, in social psychology, we have 2 sections on social cognition, which tells about how not only the person as himself, but as a member of the society he develops, right? So there is both a feed forward and a feedback, or a one-to-one correspond kind of an interaction between the personality and cognition. That's the best I can at this point tell you. If it's a very specific question on how personality affects cognition and cognition affect personality, maybe I'll answer that if you have a very specific question in mind. The other thing being that, as I said, the whole thinking process that you have, or the way you access your cognition, or the way you develop your cognition, defines how you think, how you do things, and how you develop, and that itself is a part of personality. So personality is basically what you are, or what kind of behaviors that you tend to do, or what kind of behaviors that you do, which is persistent, which is kind of lingering to you. And as I said, this depends upon a lot about on your mental states and your mental system. So yes, there is a one-to-one relation between them. So we need any formal academic background for the course. When you say formal background, obviously some background is required, as in you should have at least 10+2, because there'll be things in here which require you to have a certain level of knowledge. So that is what I think. Other than that, because there are certain concepts which for which you need a little bit of education. So formal education, academic background. I'm sorry, you talk about formal academic background. So I think it's if you are from a science stream, then it will be much easier for you. But then, having said that, psychology is in most countries it is read as a science. But I think people also who have arts background or commerce background, they would not find it much difficult to understand cognitive psychology. Is not that difficult. A little bit of effort can actually help you. But yes, there is. I'd say a greater likelihood of people from the science background or science backgrounds to understand it at a much higher level, since the training that they get during the 10th and 10+2 helps them in picking up or knowing about the experimental method. So they have a slight edge. As I said, having the slight edge is all it is. People from all academic backgrounds can actually understand this course and enjoy this course. Then I have a question by Yashpal. What is the career scope in cognitive sciences? There is a lot of career scope. You can be in an industry, you can be in teaching, you can be starting your own startup. So do as you feel. Cognition is all around us, be it on one end, it can be designing your whole industry. So you can work with people from the industry, from industrial organizations. You can work in terms of the real sciences, as in being in research, where you can think about working about brain processes, developing new systems, things like that. On the other end, you can then also work on onto your non-formal areas. So you can teach, and non-formal areas, as in you can develop certain kind of things with the knowledge that you have. You can do. I mean, you can assist engineers. So there is a course called engineering psychology, which maybe very soon I'll float this course where you can start thinking about, or you can start helping engineers design things. So there is a lot of scope, right, from academia to research to industry to everywhere. So yes, there is a lot of scope, depends upon what interests you. So that is a very brief answer to what Yashpal has. And I'll go back to my YouTube input. So Satvik has a few that you didn't get the score, or if you can be a little bit more specific, Satvik, I'd be much happy. Prajwal, Jairaj, will the study material be shared on the Satyam portal? How do we access it? So study material, as I said, it's there on the SWAM website. So you have slides which you can obviously access and start reading those. There are books that I have mentioned, so you have to go to the books. And it's always advisable to read books because they provide you they provide you much better understanding of the course. And so I just remembered that one of the authors is Gilotti, Catherine Gilotti, and the book is called Cognitive Psychology in and Out of the Laboratory. So this is one of the best books, I would say, or I would say one of the more fundamental books in cognitive psychology. So if you want, you can write it down. And there are other books to go back to. So yeah, so those materials are there. You can read up the books. You can look at the videos, pause the video. Don't. It's a big video. So most of these videos are like 45 minutes to 55 minutes long. What I'll suggest is that break the videos into smaller parts. Try watching it in small sections, and then when you don't understand something, try interacting with us through the web portal or the question forum. You can come live on this session and ask questions. You can read a little bit. The internet is your library. You can read whatever you want, so be but very careful of what you're reading on. So track for most websites. You can go into a lot of websites which offer you insights, so you can maybe browse through Science Direct or PubMed or any of these uh, search engines which give you scientific authenticated articles. You can browse through people's web pages who gave this theory or researchers, and of course you can write back to me with your queries if you have. So there is a lot of scope, there's a lot of material available. But primarily for passing this course, I'd suggest you to go through the slides, look at the videos, ask questions, do the assignments properly, and you should be through it. But if you're really interested in it, if you want to make a career out of it, if you want to really be with the course, then you can follow the sequence that I said, and you'll be happy at the end of the course. So that is about the right. So Uma Keshav has a question. Can the related text reference books be made available on the portal? I'm sorry, Uma, that is not possible. The books that I've talked about, these books are not written by me. So there are authors who have written these books, and so there'll be there'll be legal problems in putting those books on the internet. So what you can do is, these are very cheap books to buy. Most of them are Indian edition, so you have a foreign book, but in addition to that, so what you could do is you can probably buy these books and not come or they won't be more than 300 to 400 rupees in cost. So I think most people can afford that in these days. Or you could get an e-version of the book that's still cheaper than that. So that is how you can look at references if you want. You can probably ask for a particular topic and I can provide you the references if you're interested in reading. So put it on the forum and somebody will handle. There is a group which handles this. These are my students, in fact, who handle this portal. So put in there, they'll put those references. If you're still not satisfied, write a direct mail to me and I'll address your queries and provide you with the appropriate references. So I hope that answers your question. And Satvik has another question. Is there any other basic course before cognitive psychology? Of course, both the courses I run. So there is a course called Human Behavior. By the name of it, it is a course on introduction to psychology or introducing psychology to you. So if you want to go step by step, start with the human behavior course. It will introduce you to the field of psychology if you don't know about psychology. But assume that you know about psychology a little bit, or you have idea about psychology, you can jump into the cognitive psychology course. And then there are advanced courses on linguistics, psychology of language, which I have uploaded. There is another course on consumer behavior or consumer psychology, and then there'll be another course in near future on engineering psychology. All these courses are advanced level course. The basic level courses are on human behavior, which is running parallel to this course, which is basically introduction to psychology course. So those courses will assist you in understanding the cognitive psychology course. As you move along, you will see more courses, and there are other faculties also which have more advanced courses in psychology, like for example, the language, which is a very basic cognitive function. So I myself have a course on the psychology of language. Probably when you're done with cognitive psychology and if you're interested in language, you can move into that, or in near future, we'll have a specific course for engineers or for engineering students, which is called engineering psychology, and you can register there and see how psychology can change the way engineers think or what assistance can it do to engineers. So those are some other courses. Right. And then we have Yachita, which she asks, will we have subjective and essay type assignments? No, you will not have subjective assignments. You will only have objective assignments. And then I have a friend who is interested in me taking his name, but I don't know the name, so there's no way I can do that. Then I have Prajwal Jairaj. Don't you have anything better to do with your life? Okay, it's not for me. I do have things better to do in my life, but I think this was the best because I chose teaching, so I'm doing the best thing presently. So great, thanks, Prajwal, and at all type bloggers. Um, I'd suggest you do this with Chat GPT, and that will answer your questions much better, right? So ask. There is something called Chat GPT. You would be hearing it. Type it there, and then you'll have a much better answer there. Miss Kitchen, there's a question, relevant question. Can this person be blocked somehow? I don't know. Uh, can we block him? It's very difficult. It's from the YouTube site to block this question. Saeed has a question. I have done all assignments in 2022, but it is discontinued. Is there any probation that we can directly appear on external exam with previous year assignment? Saeed, I'll ask you to put this question in the forum. What I'll do is I'll then forward your question to the concerned people who handle this, which is NPTEL Madras, and then Chennai, NPTEL Chennai, and then they'll answer your questions. And then I have more questions on this particular forum as well. Let me take some of them. How cognitive psychology is different from other branches of psychology? Yes, the main difference is that it's specific. So cognitive psychology is a part of, first we have psychology in which we study a lot of different aspects of human behavior. For example, we study social psychology. There is this field talks about how humans interact socially in the society. Then we have personality psychology, and then we have emotions, we have memory, everything in the whole gamut of psychology. Now, when we take these specific branches of psychology and pull it out, we have specialized courses, and cognitive psychology is the field of psychology which studies mental processes. So what happens inside your tiny little mind or head, and how does it happen? That is what we're interested in cognitive psychology. So what cognitive psychology actually does is it looks at how information is encoded, processed, retrieved, and how do you do what you do. So what makes you a person? What makes you a thinking, doing person? That is what cognitive psychology is interesting. So that is the main difference. As I said, there are other fields of psychology. For example, there is the idea about personality psychology, there is the idea of clinical psychology, there is the idea about industrial psychology, which talks about industries. Clinical psychology talks about mental people. Then there is a field called psychopathology, which talks about problems and clinical problems or psychological problems in patients. So that's to do with hospitals. So there are different fields. The field of cognitive psychology, especially interested in mental processes. So what happens in your tiny little gray cells, as Hercule Poirot will put it, and how does these gray cells actually work? So everything about attention, perception, memory, decision making, thinking, problem solving, everything is cognitive psychology. So I hope that answers your question. And then we have Satvik here. So is there any basic course before cognitive psychology? I think I answered that question for you. But again, yes, there is a course on human behavior, which is Introduction to Psychology. You can start with that and jump into cognitive psychology. So does the knowledge of cognitive psychology can be applied to design as apparatus like polygraphs, narco tests, etc., for solving crime cases? Yes, Yashpal. In fact, the branch of psychology called criminal psychology helps you in doing that. I myself work on something called sleep and information processing, where we use the relation between psychology, between mental processes and sleep, how information is processed. And of course, techniques from psychology are borrowed in doing evaluation of people. Also, for designing equipments, psychology is important. Why? What you have to understand is psychology is study of people, right? And the interesting thing is that it's people studying people. So the most important, or the most, I'd say the most relevant thing is that when people study people, they do it in the same dimension. So there is a lot of chance of error. What psychology does is it studies people. So when people in the same dimension or in the same plane of existence try to interact with each other or try to one set evaluate to the other set, there are a lot of things, interesting thing which goes on, like for example biases, stereotypes. For example, how do you study it, what are the kind of errors that you have, what are the errors that you tend to overcome, and those kinds of things are there. So yes, psychology is can be used for designing a lot of things. For solving crimes, for designing polygraphs, yes. The whole idea of polygraph or narco test is based on psychology. The principle, I'll tell you a little bit about the principle, how it works. So basically, what happens is that deep down in your head, those memories which are emotional, they have something called dual encoding. So they take in two basic encodings, and since you're doing a crime, it's an act of arousal, it's an act of emotion, so it has higher potency. Now, there is a specific principle which says that those memories or those cues, those information which have higher potency, they tend to be remembered better than information with lower potency. And so that is one way of how this narco test really works. Although there is the technique of how it works or the way it works, I just gave you a layman principle. This is not exactly how it happens in the real time, but that's how things work, right? So I was just trying to tell you how psychology can actually help you in doing things. Also, there is something called cognitive interviewing, which is another technique which some criminal psychologists tend to use. You can read about cognitive interviewing and how this solves the problem of solving crimes. Then we have Satvik, the course which was told by you, sir, are available in SWAM. Beside the engineering psychology course, all other courses are available on SWAM, so you can search for those. But unfortunately, these courses run in different semesters. So within this semester, we have the Introduction to Psychology course and the Human Behavior course. In the coming semester, we'll have courses on psychology of language, and then we'll have psychology of consumers, so consumer psychology. The engineering psychology course is still in the making. So once we are done with that, I'll float it and then I'll tell you, or I'll probably inform. If you're still interested, you can take up this course and read about that. Not only me, there are lots of other teachers from other different institutes who put in psychology courses, so you may be interested in reading some of them, right? So these are my expertise, so I put courses in these areas. I hope that answers your question, Satvik. And okay, Prajwal there. So again, that's good. Santosh, okay, Prajwal, thank you. Thanks for clearing the misunderstanding. Santosh, should we do introduction to psychology and then do this course, or can I do it in parallel? Santosh, you cannot do this course in parallel. The reason being that they are in the same semester, so you will have to. It's like courses that you have in your college. Same semester courses cannot be done, so you can do one by one. Or if you wish, in one semester you can do the human behavior course, and then in the upcoming next year you can take up the other course. These are all one level courses, or I would say the primary courses. So what would happen is you can either do the cognitive psychology course and human behavior course. Of course, what you could do is you can always access the lectures which are there on human behavior, which is available on the YouTube. I think you can always have a look at them and start reading them. That's one thing that you can do. But doing it for grades or for your GPA, that would be not possible, I think. So next semester we'll have two more courses, one on language and the other on consumers. So you can probably in the next semester register for that, and then maybe come back again next year and then register for the human behavior course. That way what you would do is you would have finished all the courses. So that's how the courses run presently, and that's how you'll be able to access all the course. If you just want to read what's there, or if you want to understand what's there, probably you can search YouTube and you can find my courses listed there. So that's how things really work. Right. So Kiran, can we use maths to study psychology? Yes, in fact, Kiran, the good news is there is a field called mathematical psychology. You're welcome to get back to me if you want to do some work on mathematical psychology or think about doing some work on mathematical psychology. Of course, you can find in journals and journal articles which will help you in doing courses on psychology and maths. As I said, the field is called mathematical psychology, where we design equations, where we design models or system models to actually predict how human behavior really works. There's a lot of modeling that we also tend to do, and maybe that's a good area for you to go through. Satvik, which course is the best for beginners in psychology? Suggest me best one because I'm fresher to psychology. Satvik, I'd suggest just go through the human behavior course that will introduce you to the field of psychology to start with, right? So I think that should be the most preliminary course for you to start. All right, so we here, and if you have further questions, please, I welcome you to put more questions. Um, the people are there. If you have questions, please put your questions forward. You can always not put on your camera. Still, you can on your microphone and put in your question. That way, at least I'll be able to hear a person speaking. Right now, what's happening is I'm talking to a bot. I'm talking to a computer screen. So it would be a good idea for you to just on your mic, don't on your cameras if you don't want to, and still ask a question. And I'm still here to answer your questions for you. So, any more questions? If you have feedbacks, you have suggestions, you have I'd be happy to answer those questions and suggestions and feedbacks for you. Don't worry, this is not the only session that we have. We have two more sessions coming up, which is very soon, maybe in the end of this month or maybe next month, and then another one next month till we end this course. Not only that, we also have something called a response feedback, which we float each before each live session, where you can put in your specific questions. So I'm just going to check that and see if there are new questions in that. And there is a forum, a course forum, where you can put in your queries and questions, and there is always someone to take care of it and answer those questions for you. So I have some new questions on this particular response sheet. The question says, do we need any formal study background for this course? As I said, irrespective of your background, you can actually do this course. And then we have another question which is coming from Kranti. And what does he say? So he asked me a question, what are some real world applications of cognitive psychology? Real world applications. Okay. So designing of the cockpit was the best explanation that I can give to you. So remember 1940s when Hitler first started doing his invasions and started building up this small aircraft or designing his submarines, the U-boats. The designing of it were done by people from cognitive psychology. So that is one real world applications. Anywhere you go, right from your web screen that you see, the internet screen that you see, to designing lectures, to way of teaching, to designing other real interfaces. For example, how to interact with a machine. All those takes care or the fact that it is a human which is dealing with it, and so it requires you inputs from trained cognitive psychologists. The other question is real world application you are working on. I'm working on something called working memory. So right now, my area of work is sleep and information processing, probably, or not probably, specifically on working memory. So presently, we're working on how information is updated in working memory. For example, if you're traveling and you're looking at your speedometer, now what we are interested in knowing is how do you update your memory on the speed. So how does the brain calculate what speed you are and how does it know to stop, given the fact that you are a trained driver, not someone who's actually focused on it, but somebody who's not focused on the speedometer. How does he know, or how does the brain know to slow down and to update information? So that is what we are presently working in, or I'm presently working in, and we'll also look for this particular fact or this updating thing, or this particular working memory updating in sleep also. So maybe if you um, want more information, you can write back to me and we can provide you more information. Another aspect is we are looking at memory for intentions or memory for futures. That's called prospective memory. That's another interesting field that we are presently working with. These are all real world problems. Now, cognitive psychology is being considered as the latest contemporary school of thought in psychology. Uh, Latest, I don't know, because psychology started very recently. So yes, they are. Uh, but a field of psychology has come up, which is called consciousness psychology, which is the most latest that I can think about. And then I have Preeti Singh. So Preeti, please go ahead, ask a question.
Okay, okay, sir. So my question is the people with law background, what branch of psychology should they go for?
There is a field, Preeti, which is called criminal psychology. अगर आप देखें तो criminal psychology का एक course है, and I think गुजरात forensic यूनिवर्सिटी है जहाँ पे आपको इस तरह के courses मिल जाएंगे जो training देते हैं आपको. I think वहाँ पे प्रोफेसर मुकुंदन होंगे. If I remember last, he was the one who set up that university. So वहाँ आप देखें तो आपको law से related मिल जाएंगे. Plus interestingly, जैसे जानते हैं एक लॉयर को एक अच्छा साइकोलॉजिस्ट होना जरूरी है. द रीजन इज दैट यू डील विद एविडेंस एंड यू डील विद हाउ एविडेंस इज रीजनड. फॉर एनी रीजनिंग यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड हाउ इंफॉर्मेशन इज प्रेजेंटेड टू यू. सो आपको एक you need a line of thought, right? आपको एक रीजनिंग होनी चाहिए एंड उसके लिए आपको साइकोलॉजी जरूरी है. सो फॉर अ लॉ स्टूडेंट probably I think Forensic Institute के साथ बात कीजिए. गुजरात Forensic Institute, they may have something for you in store, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. So any other question if you have, let me go back to okay, so I have a lot of loves and wishes and whatnot and what all. I don't hope that's for me. But anyways, moving on. Ichita Mehta, my question isn't specifically related to cognitive psychology, but this is graphology, the science of handwriting analysis we used by therapists to personally get to know your clients better. Yes, it's there's a field in psychology. It's in psychopathology where you use the information of how people write. So it depends upon how much pressure do you put onto the paper, and where is the slant that you have. Basically, what happens is it's very loosely connected to the idea of what Freud said about people or personality. So basically, what it does is that it looks at how much pressure you're putting represents how much anxious you are, how much nervous you are, how much consolidated you are, and the bends of the handwriting or the bends of the way you write. It tells a little bit about your state of mind, and from there a lot of can be predicted about what you are and who you are. So technically speaking, yes, this is to do with psychology. This is to do with the study of psychology, not particularly of cognitive psychology, but there is a field of personality psychology which deals with it, and it can help you in understanding people through that way. And then, of course, for clinicians also, it's important. Santosh.